Hi, I'm really excited to be here. So today I'm going to talk about basically all the interesting things I've beaded over the last 2 years and tried to cobble together a title that fit them all together. So what I want to show you is how to bead a rhombus. This really works for most polygons, or at least convex ones. You start with your polygon, in this case a rhombus. You put one bead on every edge. You can stop there if you want, but in this case, I'm also using beads inside the corners that'll cover the thread between the beads on the edges. And you will basically sew those 8 beads together in a loop. In the bottom left there, you can see what the first loop of thread looks like. You always pass through all the beads a second time and through 1 or 2 more beads, and the tension there will hold all the beads together without a knot. If you want to then go and bead a tiling, you can add more loops. In this case, all the loops have 8 beads in them. And the tiles that share an edge also share an edge bead. And so that's basically how I'm doing everything that I'm going to show you here. So you can do something with 12 rhombuses. So that's this piece right here. And I will be giving a workshop tomorrow if you want to learn how to do this. So I brought lots of really big beads, and you can also do 12 rhombi and a rhombic dodecahedron if you want a 3-dimensional challenge. And here I want to show you the difference between the sizes of beads that I'll have you working with and the size of the beads that I normally work with. So those are done with size 11 seed beads, which are the second smallest size that I typically work with. Here's a tiling of mostly rhombuses. I mean, they're all 4-sided, and all the loops have 8 beads. In the drawing of it, they're not technically rhombuses, but in the beading, it just works out that way. And this piece is a little bit flat. It kind of domes a little in the middle because of the 1 pentagon. Here's a more complicated one. So again, I'm just using loops of 8 beads. After I finish doing all of the rhombuses, then I can add some larger or smaller beads to fill in the holes and make it sit more nicely, but it's still the same basic idea. Here's a Penrose tiling. I, again, used a loop of 8 beads for the larger rhombus and a modified loop of 5 beads for the skinny rhombus, and instead of using edge matching rules, I just used colors. And I have all these pieces if you want to look at them. Here's a larger piece that I did. So this is huge for my work, and this is all rhombuses. And I really enjoyed making this piece after about 5 days of beading. I said, you know, this would be a lot cooler if I made it twice as big. So you can see the 5-pointed stars really emerge. So I learned a lot about the connection between the rhombic tilings and the other Penrose tilings. Now I want to turn my attention to things that are 3-dimensional, because the theory still applies. You just weave all of the polygons into a loop. So in this particular design, I'm using pentagonal prisms and square prisms and 2 different triangular prisms and tiled them together in a particular way to make a heart. Beaders call this prismatic right angle weave, which could have had an easier name. And here's what the finished piece looks like after you add some smaller beads to fill in some of the holes, the gaps at the vertices. If you know the book Adventures Among the Toroids, which I recently got a copy of, I found this drawing done in 1980, and I redid it in beadwork. Again, it's just triangular prisms and pentagonal prisms. Here are some more elaborate pieces that have prisms as the base structure, and then there's an additional layer of beadwork put on top to make them look more decorative. Here's a pair of earrings that I've written up a tutorial for. Again, just more prisms. Here's a larger piece. It's about this big, and the American Mathematical Society posted this image on the left here on their Facebook page last December, and I reposted it to all my beader friends with the caption, "Hey, bead this." And I was joking because I didn't even understand what I was looking at, but with the help from Susan Goldstein, she helped me figure out what the thing was, and after a lengthy discussion, I couldn't help but try to bead it. And so a day and a half later, I ended up with one of these, and I made a couple more of them. We dubbed it Crater Moon, and it's a really fascinating sculpture. But again, it's just polygons. Here's a space grid structure. This is a piece I found in a book on architecture, and this is just tetrahedrons and octahedrons, and I just rendered it in beads, all just loops of 3 and basically loops of 3. And then here's a 4-dimensional object. It's not the whole thing. I found it in the Symmetry of Things, and just to kind of show you that this method of just putting one bead on every edge, you can really do a whole lot with it. So if you want to learn how to bead, I invite you to come and take my workshop tomorrow. So thank you.
Thanks, Gwen.